All right, here we go, guys. We got our 10-minute timer started. Today is Friday, February 13th. So it's Friday the 13th. Tomorrow's Valentine's Day. It's 8:39 in the nighttime. I'm so glad you're here. We're doing a daily video every day on the second channel here. We're going to be doing it raw and uncut. It's going to be 10-minute max, and I'm going to do some show and tell. I've been having a lot of fun with this, and I have a good one here today. This one is a Playboy one share of stock, and this particular one at one point was given to Maven Huffman when he was a groomsman on May 16th, 2009. Now, I have a lot to say about this. So first thing, before we look at the actual item in depth and try to learn what we can about it, I want to mention who Maven Huffman is. So there was a show called Tough Enough, and this was the WWE, maybe a couple of years before this, was looking to find the next big star. And so they started the show where these people would compete. It was a reality show, and they would usually have to compete in ways that had nothing to do with pro wrestling, like a lot of physical stamina stuff. And I do remember there were some big missteps with it. I know that there was a guy, I think his name was Daniel Puder, and they did a segment where Kurt Angle, who's an Olympic gold medalist, was up talking to these guys, and then he challenged any of them to a real fight. And this guy almost beat him, and then the referee did a 3 count, which if it was real wrestling, you would just call a pin, but everything seemed like as if it had totally gone awry. Kurt Angle was furious. And I think the thing about that is Kurt Angle was the greatest wrestler in the history of the modern Olympics. You know, he's an amazing wrestler. But this was a few years later, and this other guy was a good grappler, a good, wrestler. And while you may say, hey, sure, but Kurt Angle could beat him 9 times out of 10. This is the 10th time. This is the one. This is why you don't do that. Because even though on any given Sunday Kurt Angle wins, there is the chance that he doesn't win. But I remember that was a big deal. But Maven won. He won the first season, and he then threw The Undertaker out of the Royal Rumble. I remember he had a feud with Taz. And then his Tough Enough trophy showed up on eBay. And they said, I saw it on there, and then all of a sudden it kind of made the wrestling news. People saying, why is it out there? And then if I remember correctly, he said, I had a storage locker, like one of those big storage lockers, and I forgot to pay for it. And so it's not my stuff anymore, so they're going to sell it, right? Like Storage Wars. But I had a theory, and I might be wrong, but my theory was that one of two things happened. Either A, that part was true, or B, we'll get back to A because I should have said this. Let's go first with B. Either B, that wasn't true, and he was just selling his stuff on eBay, and it was a good excuse to make it look like he wasn't selling his stuff on eBay. Or A, that was true, but then he followed up by being like, well, maybe I can get rid of a bunch of old junk I got in the closet by throwing it on eBay and pretending it was from that. So that was always my theory, but this was a groomsman award that he got. So he was in somebody's wedding on May 16th, 2009. Now, I'll tell you this about Maven. I don't know if at the time when this happened, he was, maybe a little down on his luck. Maybe his career had waned. He did wrestle a lot on the independent circuit, but today he's a pretty successful and really good YouTuber. So I enjoy, I watch his videos today. So I always think it's cool that I have this. But if you're out there watching Maven and you want your one share of Playboy stock, you hit me up. I'll send it back to you. I'll tell you a couple things. So first thing, it came in this frame. This is like as if it would be framed, and there's like marks, and I don't know what happened to it, but it's taped shut around this. I've never opened this. Maybe we should. I don't know if we... It looks like it's just taped into a matting here, but the actual certificate under the plastic has all these little red dots, like somebody was drinking a glass of wine and went, and it just Triple H'd it all over the room. So I don't know what that is. It was 1 share of stock. The date on the stock is later than the date on the little placard at the bottom. It is signed by Hugh Hefner. But this was the thing. They would do this 1 share of common stock. And so I don't know what this is worth, but this has some kind of certificate of authenticity or something on there. Now, I'm going to peel this off. I'm not going to show you guys. I assume he doesn't live at this address, but I want to tell you where it was. It was in St. Petersburg. So this time he lived at St. Petersburg, Florida. I remember these 1 share of stock deals, and I found them very interesting. I'll tell you, going back to my weird theory that he was just selling off his stuff, the people that, from what I understand, owned the Amityville house, what they would do is they would go to like moving sales, garage sales. Anytime they saw like a lamp or a couch on the side of the road, they'd take it back to their house and stuff it in the garage. And then every weekend they would have a garage sale, and people would ride up saying, "Oh, I'm going to go look at the Amityville house. They have a garage sale. Oh, it's a haunted couch. I'm going to buy it." And really, they were just running a garage sale every weekend to sell junk that had never even been in their home. And I think that's fantastic. Now, around the time of this 1 share of stock, I did purchase 1 share of stock as a gift for my mother-in-law. And it came beautiful, with Disney and everything on it. And it's actually, the funny thing is, we own some real Disney stock. My mother-in-law does, and I do as well. And they didn't give us like a pretty certificate, to my memory. I believe the stockbroker sends you a certificate or something, like a boring, bland certificate. But this is much more fun. I just think this is great. But this was one of those like sort of semi-scams. The other one was they'd name a star after you, or a piece of land in Ireland would be yours. You'd have a plot, 1 square foot of land, that they, and I feel like all of this stuff, maybe, you can cash this in. This is legal. But my guess is, I don't know what a share of Playboy stock is going for, but I don't know. I also don't know that I legally would have any right to it. I think I got to talk to Maven. You got to get it back to Maven. But yeah, there it is. 1 share of common stock. Fully paid and non-accessible shares of common B stock. Maybe it's gone way up. I don't think it would have, though. I feel like this 2009. I think Maven's the groom from this. I wonder if they're still together. But I think the Maven was the groomsman, not the best man. He's just a groomsman, but not like on Tough Enough where he was the best man. But on this, he was a groomsman. But I wonder if they're still together. But I don't know. But I do know that this 1 share, I think they bought at the top, because I feel like the magazine isn't even printed anymore. I don't know that the name is as valuable. There's a thing that happened right around this time called the internet. People were like, "Oh, there's naked ladies on there too. Well, why am I going to go to the newsstand and then, have to buy, 3 copies of the newspaper and, kind of like be like, don't say anything about this. I'm just buying it for the articles." That's what they would always say about buying it for the articles. Not the Disney one had like Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck, but this one, they should have she should have the bunny costume on at least. This is like, I don't know. And then there's Christine Hefner, which was his daughter. Hugh Hefner, I wrote a letter to him when I was a teenager. I got an assignment to write a letter to a celebrity. And so I was like, I'm going to write to Hugh Hefner. And my 8th grade teacher didn't like it at all. But then she kind of rolled with it, and it was good. And Hugh Hefner wrote back, sent me a nice autographed picture. But anyway, that is 1 share of common stock, par value 01. I had an interesting day today. I was out at at a location shooting for an upcoming video. And if you remember this artist, you might be able to guess what kind of location I would go to. But this is going to be a video about the moment in the sun she had back in 1987 when the entire world stopped to take a look at this singer. And it was a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to that. I'll be putting that out soon. I'm out of time. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.